So this is my Super 73 Z1. This is a relatively new bike from Super 73, at least for this year. I think there's 2 more coming out, should be out by now, that are a little more powerful and considered not entry level like the Z1 is. I got it a little bit earlier this year. It's been about 2 months now since I've owned it. You guys got to see a little bit of the preview of it when I talked about it earlier on carbageonline.com. But I've had it for a couple months and I've been happy with it. So what is the Super 73 Z1? It's considered an entry-level bike by Super 73. It has a 500 watt motor and a 418 watt hour or 11.6 amp hour, depending on how you want to look at it, battery pack. So it's good for about 20 miles an hour, and it's limited to that by the controller. And it's also limited to about 20-ish miles.
If you're not me.
I'll explain that in a minute. It does come with a set of 20 by 4 wheels and tires. So it's considered a fat bike. And that comes from what the type of tire it has. If you've ever looked at a regular bicycle tire, they're tall and skinny. Whereas these are kind of on the thick side and fatter. What's great about a flat tire bike is that it doesn't require you to have a suspension to have a smooth ride, or a relatively smooth ride. A lot of the imperfections and bumps and stuff you run into while you're riding on the road are soaked up by the thicker tire and the spokes. Because remember, the spokes are pretty much the suspension of any bicycle. And in this case, it does pretty well. I am overweight for this bike. I'll admit that. The weight limit is supposed to be 275 pounds. Clearly I'm not. But it does handle me just fine. It gets up to speed just fine. This will get up to the full speed of 20 miles an hour with me riding it. Doesn't do it quite going uphill, but on a nice flat, smooth surface, it actually gets me up to speed. I've been quite pleased with it. And unfortunately, at the same time, that also means that it doesn't quite get me that full 20 miles. Kind of depends on how I ride it. Again, because of my weight, it does mean that the motor must push more, must use the battery power more to get me up to speed. Which is unfortunate, but again, it still does it. At 418 watt hours with a 500 watt motor, that should be roughly 20 miles. But I'm not quite getting that. I'm getting somewhere between 15 to 18 on a good day. On my worst days, it can be about 10. But again, it depends on how I ride it. And because this is a bicycle, before it is really a motorcycle, or even a moped, I can pedal it. I can get more miles out of it, but I have to use my own force. If you've ridden a moped, it's the same idea. You can pedal more and get better gas mileage because you're not using as much fuel. It's especially important to try and pedal more when you're taking off, at least when you first at a dead stop. This will take me from a dead stop and it will roll with me, but it's going to use a lot more power. That's just the unfortunate truth of it. But that's for anybody. If you can pedal first to get up to speed and then start using the electric motor, you're going to maximize your mileage that way. So anytime you don't have to use the motor, the more battery power you're obviously going to have. Again, that's the catch. You can pedal more and get more mileage that way, or you can pedal less and get less mileage. So do I have any complaints about this particular bike since I've owned it in those 2 months? Maybe a few things. The one big thing I wish I had was a set of hydraulic brakes. I just think reducing your maintenance by not needing to adjust the brakes every so often is a big positive that's lost on this bike. Another, I do wish it had a more powerful motor. Yeah, I know it's an entry level. I wish a more powerful motor was an option, and I would opt for it. I would opt for the same 1,000 watt motor they're putting on their newer higher end bikes that they're coming out with. And again, I know this is meant to be more of a street riding bike, but even so, I still wish there was a suspension on here. Riding a bicycle with no suspension is kind of rough, but it's manageable. Again, the fat tires help take care of many of the bumps and imperfections you're going to hit while you're riding on the road. Another thing I wish this bike came with was a set of lights. It's an entry level bike. It probably shouldn't come with that, but I think it should. It's just one of those things I think as a safety standpoint is better if the bike comes with a set of lights instead of just a set of reflectors like you see now. Other than that, I really don't have any complaints about it. It's been a great commuter bike for the 2 months I've had it. Actually, I think it might be more by now. It's certainly saved me a lot of money in fuel. I know I'm looking at this as my current vehicle. I had the Pathfinder before, but riding this, I didn't fill up the Pathfinder for at least a month. That's been the greatest thing about it. It saved me money by not having to pay for fuel. Anywhere I have to go, it's within, heck, even a 20-mile distance. I can still do it, and I'll just ride the bike. So if you're in the market for a Super 73 Z1, I'd say buy it. Even the things I complain about, they're minor complaints. They're things that can be overlooked and still have fun with this, because for most of the environments it's going to see, it's perfect. If you're in the market for an electric bike, I say a Z1 is very much a great entry-level first taste. It is $1,300, so that's a bit of a pill to swallow. But for most of the bikes, that's within a reasonable amount of cost versus what you normally would get. Like a next level down would be something that has a less powerful motor, or requires you to pedal more, or has less battery capacity. And it is billed as a street bike. It's not billed as an off-road bike. You're not really supposed to take this on any dirt trails or anything like that. This is a street bike. So in that vein, I think I'm going to do something with it. And that is make it into something that I think it was trying to achieve, but go further. What do I mean by that? Well, I got some upgrades coming. The biggest one I want to do first is the battery capacity. And then I want to take care of the motor, which in that I'm going to change the controller. A lot of this is going to require me to do some modifications to the bike so that the batteries are kind of more hidden and the controller fits. So this thing is going to turn into a moped, electric moped, street tracker. What is that? Well, think about a flat track oval bike, really more made for street driving. That's what this is going to turn into. And I've already got the majority of the parts I need to do that. There's still a few things I'm waiting on. Mostly fiberglass and some foam. Fiberglass and foam, that's what I'm short of right now. But everything else, from the tires to the rear wheel, because that's going to get upgraded as well to help take my weight a little bit more, to the seat, the cover for the batteries themselves, a new set of triple trees, and a new set of handlebars. All of that's going to get replaced. And when you see it, I think you're going to be mighty impressed with what I'm going to do. But for now, I'm going to enjoy it as it is, because again, it's saving me money. I can't argue with that. But in the meantime, I'm going to go ride it. Tell you what, I'll see you guys later. And again, if you're in the market for a Z1, it's definitely got my recommendation.